these are my predictions for how I think the map veto for the upper semi-final matches is gonna go. And so for the first match, we've got XLG versus EDG. And I think for EDG's map ban, I've gone with Ascent. It feels like for EDG, it's probably a perma ban. They did ban it versus Foot, where I thought it's probably the match where they are gonna float it. But maybe I'm wrong about that. And XLG looked great on their Ascent, so versus G2. So I think it makes sense for EDG to continue banning it. And then for XLG, I think they should ban either Pearl or Breeze. And I've gone with Pearl since I think it's their worst map. And then subsequently, I think EDG are going to pick Breeze, which is their best map. So I think EDG are going to win on that. And then for XLG, I think they are going to pick Lotus. I think it could be either Lotus or Split, but I think their chances on Lotus are probably better. Even though we've seen now a couple of teams like G2 and NRG beat XLG on the map, I think versus a Chinese team it's gonna look a bit differently. I don't think EDG are as good on that map as G2 or NRG are. So yeah, because of that, I think XLG are gonna win on Lotus. And then in the second rotation of map bans, I think EDG should get rid of Split. And I think XLG are gonna get rid of Haven, since I think it's XLG's worst map out of the remaining ones. I am kind of a bit worried that for EDG, that if EDG maybe ban first, they get rid of Haven, and then it ends up being like a split where I think XLG are actually favored. But yeah, I think EDG should let Haven float because they have more practice on that map versus XLG, and both teams are really not great on that map. So it's probably a better map for EDG still, but it's kind of a 50-50. And then the map which I think is going to be the deciding map is going to be Fracture, where I would favor EDG. I think they've looked better on that map overall. They have had more practice on the map. So yeah, I would favor EDG, and I think it's going to be a 2-1 for EDG over XLG. And in the second match coming up, we've got Vitality versus PaperX. And for PaperX's map ban, I think it's between either Pearl or Breeze. I think these are obviously, or not obviously, but they've looked like their two worst maps, and they are great maps for Vitality. And I've gone with PaperX banning Pearl, even though it is PaperX banning it versus an EU team, and EU Pearl generally is quite bad. I think Vitality's Pearl has looked good enough that it makes sense for PaperX to still ban Pearl. And then subsequently, I think Vitality are going to pick Breeze since it's their best map, and I think Vitality are going to win, even though I still think that PaperX are good on the map, so it's going to be a fight. But I still think Vitality should win. And then for Vitality's map ban, I think it has to be between Haven and Ascent, since these are Vitality's two worst maps. Maybe they would think about banning Fracture, but since PaperX doesn't really have any practice on that map either, I don't think it makes a lot of sense. So it should be between either Ascent or Haven, and I think Ascent makes more sense since they have less practice on that map, and PaperX just dominated LAF on that map. So I feel better with Vitality banning Ascent, which would leave PaperX with picking Split. I think regardless of what Vitality ban, I don't think they are gonna ban Split, since they are decent on the map. But for PaperX, it's by far their best map. They are the best Split team, so I think PaperX are gonna win on that. And then for the second rotation of map bans, I think Vitality are likely gonna get rid of Haven then, since it's their worst out of the remaining. And then for PaperX, it's between Fracture and Lotus, and I think they are gonna get rid of Fracture, even though they probably have a better or bigger advantage on Fracture, I think um, just because Lotus is a better map for them and they've looked really good on Lotus, I think they are gonna prefer Lotus being the deciding map. And yeah, I think Vitality will also be really happy with that. I think both of these teams are really good on Lotus, so it should be a banger. And yeah, I suspect it's gonna be a close match overall. I think most of the maps are gonna be fairly close. But in the end, I still favor Paper X, and I would say 2-4 Paper X over Vitality. But let me know what you guys think. Who do you see winning in these matches? And then we're gonna see each other tomorrow for the predictions for the lower round 2 matches.